Welcome back to Bayou Time. Happy Easter weekend to all of you. And we always save these new Domino Effect shows for the Easter weekend because we want people to really see them. We want people coming in from out of town to see them. We want people traveling to see. And I know a lot of you have heard of the Domino Effect. When Cam Morvant was in office in Lafourche, we showcased it a lot. Miss Christine Russell, she's elevated, she's done some different things, and we were there. We're actually going to get an intro and overview with Miss Russell, the District Attorney of Lafourche Parish.
With COVID and Ida, we were unable to come to South Lafourche High School for a few years, and it's so good to be back here. Every year that we come, these students are so attentive. They're so generous with their time, and they listen to our speakers, and it's so good to be back in South Lafourche. The program started in 2004 with District Attorney then Cam Morvant, and really the hopes of reaching our seniors throughout our parish before the celebrations of prom and graduation, and it's continued. And so we speak to the kids about what the legal ramifications are of driving while distracted and driving while impaired, and then we talk about the personal ramifications and what could happen. And we bring in someone who has lost a loved one and let them share their personal story, and I think that's what affects the kids more than anything else. We had Miss Dawn Simmons. She actually spoke at Central Lafourche, and she spoke here at South Lafourche, and she shared her story about the loss recently of her 3 children, Lindy, Christopher, and Cameron. And I don't know how she does it, but we certainly are blessed that she shares her story and her heart with these students. And she does it in hopes to save another life, and that no other family has to go through what she and her family are going through each and every day.
I'm a trooper with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. I'm at the site of Mariah West's accident. Mariah's vehicle traveled across this median and ended in striking the bridge that you can see behind me.
When I got to the scene, her face was disfigured from sliding down the roadway. It's funny, the first thing I noticed about her was her shoes. Lying in the roadway in a large pool of blood, I noticed her shoes, and I thought, this is a young girl. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this. And at that point is when I noticed her cap and gown was still in her car. She was going to graduate the next day. It was just a really horrific scene, all because of a senseless text message.
You know, when you woke up this morning, and just by the time you came here to school, you've made tons of decisions that you probably never even thought about. And most of them, and pretty much all of them, had consequences that you never thought about either. Small decisions, did you wake up on time? Did you brush your teeth? Did you study for that test that was coming up? You never really even thought about it. But as you go along and you leave here and you start having your celebrations, your prom, your graduation, and then you go on to adult life, the decisions you make are much bigger. And the consequences goes with that decisions are much bigger as well. We're going to go through what the consequences are when you drive distracted, maybe when you check that text, or God forbid you have that drink, or you use some substance and you get in the car. But I want to tell you, last year in 2022, we had 39 fatalities in the parish of Lafourche. 39 fatalities. That puts us up there with some of the bigger parishes in our state. Half of the DWIs that we had in Lafourche were people aged 18 to 34, and over 80% were men. Those stats are astounding. But let's go what happens if you decide that you want to text and you want to look at your phone or drop. Let's just talk about what the law says. Louisiana Revised Statute 32-300.5 talks about no person driving on a public roadway can write, send, or read text, or look at social media. If you do and you're caught, it's a $500 fine. Of course, that doubles if you get a second. And if there's a crash, that makes it much more serious as well. Let's look at 32300.6. If you have a Class E learner's license or intermediate license and you're again on the highways and the roads and you engage in a call, unless it's hands-free, again, you have a $500 fine. And a second one, it will be a $1,000 fine. And then that again will be doubled if you're involved in a crash. And a lot of our crashes that we're seeing now are a result of someone looking at their phone, looking down to see that text message, or looking at social media. 32300.7, if you are 17 years of age or older, younger, which should be some of you guys, you cannot engage in a phone call. You cannot write, send, or read a text at all. And if you do, it's a $250 fine. And of course, it'll go up to $1,000 if you get a second offense. And if you're involved in a crash, that fine will be doubled as well. 300.8. If you're in a school zone, and we have quite a few in Lafourche Parish and you're not aware, and you go through that and you engage in a phone call, you write or send or read a text, you access, read, or look at social media, your fine is up to $500. Second offense, $1,000 fine, suspension of your license for 60 days. And again, if you're involved in a crash, it's doubled. So that's if you drive and you're distracted, and that's if you're driving and you look at your phone and you read a text. But what if you get behind the wheel and you've had a substance or you've had alcohol and you get pulled over? $14.98, if you operate a vehicle while intoxicated, what does that mean? You have a blood alcohol of 0.08. I don't know how many drinks that would be for you, but it's not a lot to be at a 0.08. You're under the influence of another substance, not alcohol. For a first offense, it's up to a $1,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail. You're going to have 32 hours of community service work. You're going to have to go to an alcohol information school. Again, your license is going to be affected through Department of Motor Vehicles. And then you may lose your license for some time unless you can get a hardship license. So if you need your license, you won't have it. You now have a criminal record. So if someone runs does a background check for any job that you do or any education that you want to go through, then you're going to have a record. You have a lot of court costs associated with a DWI or a DUI. If you have to get an intoxilizer, that's almost $600 to get the intoxilizer on, over and above the $1,000 plus that you have with court cost. As we all know, your insurance is going to be affected by that DWI. If you want to go to college or trade school, it certainly can affect that. When you go and you apply for your nursing license or law school, even if you don't have a conviction, let's say that you were arrested or cited for a DWI, but they didn't find you guilty, you still have to tell the nursing board, you still have to tell law school that you were even pulled over and arrested for a DWI, and that will be forever. Every single time you renew that nursing license, you have to disclose about the DWI. Let's talk about employment, because it certainly has affected many people's employment. If you want to get your TWIC card, you want to work in Port Fourchon, well, guess what? That DWI may affect you getting that TWIC card. CDL license, you can forget about that. If you have one, that'll get pulled from you. So you will not have that. Loss of employment if driving is a job duty. We have men and women who come in with a DWI, and maybe they drive for UPS, maybe they drive for Coca-Cola. So their job each and every day depends on them getting behind a wheel. Once they get a DWI, and they have that conviction, they're no longer able to drive those vehicles and they lose their jobs. And there is nothing that we can do about that. So by making the choice to get behind the wheel, intoxicated, and they get pulled over, they can potentially, one, have a financial loss, which will be huge. If you want to go to school, you may not be able to do that. You may not be able to get the job that you want, and you may lose the job that you already have. And let's just say that that did not have to happen if you did not get behind the wheel. Those are minor consequences for you making a pretty bad decision. The consequences can be much greater than just a fine and losing your job. Choices have consequences, and it's certainly making a choice to get behind the wheel will affect your life, but it also can affect the life of another person and another family. I am honored to be able to introduce to you all this morning Miss Dawn Simmons. And she is going to share with you how the decision that someone made, the selfish decision that someone made, has forever changed her life and forever changed the life of her family. Simmons.
My name is Dawn Simmons, and I am mama to these 9 kids right here. This was in 2016 at my oldest son's wedding, so this was a few years back, but this is me, my husband, and all of my crew. This is a little more recent picture of everyone. This is me and my husband, Ray, Ren, Katie, Shay, Rhett, Carly, Kyle, and Lindy, Christopher, and Cameron. On December 17th of 2021, we were on our way home from Monroe from Christopher's basketball game. It was the last day of school before Christmas break, and we went to Monroe, played their basketball game, and then we were heading home. A drunk driver hit us that night head on, and Lindy, Christopher, and Cameron lost their life that night. I'll tell you a little bit about them. Lindy was 20 at the time of the crash. She was a sophomore at Nichols. She was our memory maker. If you were anywhere around Lindy, you were prone to be victim to her camera. She videoed, documented, photographed everyday life in many, many ways. Her and Cameron, they have videos of they would go just pump gas at a gas station, them fist bumping and doing a little dance or whatever, just cutting up at the gas station. It's those everyday moments that are so precious to me now. Her and Lindy would be at Walmart. They would find them a little spot to do a little dance routine in the corner where nobody was. We have so many videos of just everyday life like that. Cameron and Lindy were at the eye doctor, and Cameron was trying to read the letters on the screen, and she's got the little thing in front of her eye, and Lindy's filming her without her knowing, and it says, "This girl can't read with little skeleton heads." So just so many, many, many memories. I mean, Lindy was our memory maker. She was the most creative person I have ever met in my life. She was so talented. She was a brilliant photographer. She took so many senior pictures, and I mean, her pictures just stood out far beyond anybody else of her age. She had just landed her dream job. She had just got hired at Nichols to be the campus photographer. This was in November of 21, so she was going to start that position in January of 22 when they went back for the spring semester, but that day never came. Her life was stolen. She loved life, and she lived every minute to the fullest. She was such a joy. I mean, she would come home from college at 20 years old, and first thing she'd do is come sit in my lap. She was a very, very fun person to be around, and she lived life to the fullest. Christopher was 17 at the time of the crash. Christopher was just a remarkable young man. He won the first team All-State for basketball. He also won the Golden Glove Award for baseball, and he was planning on playing football his senior year at school. He would be a senior, just like y'all right now. He was also going to be valedictorian of his class. He was extremely academic. He was an amazing athlete. He was striving to make a 32 on his ACT. Before the crash, his highest score was a 26, and he said, "Mom, I've got about 7 or 8 more times to take it," and I tell you, I am confident he would have achieved that goal. He had his life planned out meticulously. He Everything he did, he weighed out how it would affect his future. He was just an amazing young man. If I could say, I want a son and I want him to be this, 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 and this. When I tell you, Christopher checked every box. He was just so driven, so concerned about his future, and thought out everything that he did. He was just truly a remarkable young man. One of the best things that I can say about Christopher, on top of all that, is that he was known for his integrity. If Christopher gave you his word, you could count on it. He was just such a remarkable young man with such a bright future. He was going to be a software engineer like his older brother. His older brother, Ren, is a software engineer, and he was going to follow in his footsteps. So he was just truly a remarkable young man. And Cameron was 15 at the time of our crash. She was 41 days short of her 16th birthday. 41 days short of getting her driver's license, which she was so excited about. She could not wait. She had a countdown on her phone. I mean, we had talked about it. She was just so excited. She had the kindest heart that I have ever seen in a child. If she saw someone hurting, her heart would literally break. When we would leave Walmart or somewhere, if she would see, like, a homeless person or something holding out a sign for a little money, if I didn't have money in my purse, Mom, go to the money machine. I mean, she truly just had a heart for people. And she just wanted to help people in any way that she could. Since she had her permit, her and I really drove a lot together that year because she was doing her practice driving. And one of the hardest things for me today is I drive alone a lot now because they're not here. And she would just put her little playlist on in the car, and I tell you, she would sing and sing and sing. She had the most beautiful singing voice. It was beautiful. She didn't think so. She didn't have the confidence in herself, but I'm telling you, she had the most beautiful singing voices. And today when I drive, I look for her. We spent so much time together while she was doing her practice driving. But she was a kind person. So that's just a little bit about them, just to give you a little background on who they were. This is some more pictures of them. Lindy, for her senior year, she was prom queen. And you can just kind of see from the pictures, hanging out with her friends, and her little godchild, who, just unbelievably, she only got to spend one birthday with him. But you can just see they were just so full of life. I mean, when you went somewhere with them, you were gonna have a great time. They were so funny. I miss the laughter. So this is Christopher and his girlfriend Marissa, and just some of his friends, and him and I together. On the night of the crash, and I just want to clarify, what happened to us was not an accident. I purposely don't say accident. When you get behind the wheel of a car and you have been drinking, everyone knows here what can happen when you get behind the car intoxicated. That is a choice that you are making. That is a decision you are making that has consequences. So the night of our crash, I don't know if y'all realize, but there were 5 deaths that night because of one man's decision. My 3 kids, the drunk driver was killed, and they were detouring traffic a little further down the road because of all what was going on because of the crash, and an elderly man may have been, I'm assuming, may have been blinded by some of the police lights from all the stuff that was going on, and he actually rear-ended a state trooper, and he passed away as well. So one decision, 5 deaths in one night. 3 of them, 3 beautiful young children with bright futures and dreams, just like y'all. Unfortunately, the mindset, there seems to be a lot of people who have the mindset about drinking and driving is their main concern is that they don't want to get caught, But guess who got caught that night? Us, an innocent family who did nothing wrong. I hope our story can begin to change that mindset. And when people do drink, that they make decisions that are gonna allow them not to get behind the wheel. There's Uber, there's cell phones, call somebody, do what you need to do. But these decisions have to be made before. Because once people start drinking and their decision making is not the same. It is affected by the alcohol or, whatever. So these decisions have to be made before these events take place, these, whatever you're doing that people would drink at. Me personally, I have a 0 tolerance for drinking, but drinking has destroyed my life. My family of 9 kids is dead. That's gone. I will never have that again because of one man's decision. How selfish is that? That is just such a selfish decision. And here's just a little more Cameron. She was a cheerleader. She was a softball player. And just so kind, so sweet. She was such a sweet girl. So this is the night of. So the night of, on December 17th, my husband gets a call from a paramedic and saying that we have your wife here. We're taking her to Lafayette General. She's critical, but we have her stable enough to start heading toward the hospital. We need you to come here now. And he said, okay. He said, but what about my kids? And they said, we just working on your wife. I don't have any information for your kids. Just get to the hospital. So my oldest daughter gets to the hospital, and they go in to check on me and for the kids, and the kids are not there. The only 2 people there are me and Christopher's girlfriend. She came with us to the basketball game as well. So that's it. It's just me and her. Where's the kids? They have no idea. So she's texting with her friend Allie, asking her friend to send her phone numbers to all the different hospitals because they didn't know where they were. So they called all the nearby hospitals, every one of them. Nobody had them. So while they're there trying to figure all this out, they had something on Facebook that said that there's been a crash on I-49 and there are 2 fatalities. The drivers of both vehicles have lost their lives. So they're like really, really, starting to freak out. So one of the police officers at the hospital said, look, I don't have any information. He said, why don't y'all just go to Opelousas General, because I'm thinking they were trying to get them en route here, but maybe they coded or something and they had to divert to one of the hospitals on the way. So they had nothing else to go on. And my daughter, she wanted my husband to stay with me, and she didn't want the kids to be alone. She says, oh my God, we can't find my siblings. Only my mom and Marissa are here. The hospital can't say where they were taken. It's Lindy. A fatality? Yes. Oh my God, Katie, I'm so sorry. Mom's ankles are broken. She's critical. Cameron and Christopher are critical. We think Lindy is gone, but excuse the language, but only Marissa and Mom at Lafayette General. So they take off to Opelousas. They get there, and they go and speak with a nurse, and my daughter, Katie, says, look, I'm looking for my siblings. There was a crash tonight. We can't find them anywhere. So the nurse says, well, what do they look like? So she takes some pictures out and she shows them. So the nurse says, okay, come to the back. So they bring her to a room, and Lindy usually drove for me. So she's thinking she still doesn't want to accept anything. She said, but if anything, she's thinking it's Lindy. So they bring her to a room, and there's a person in a body bag. So she walks in there, and she says, go ahead and unzip it. She says, I can't look, though. She says she was with her mother-in-law and her husband. She said, y'all gonna have to tell me. So they unzip it, and expecting Lindy, if anything, but hoping not. That's who she thought it would be. But they unzipped it, and it was her baby sister, Cameron. She said her little face was beautiful, just beautiful. It looked just like she was sleeping. 15 years old. She said, are y'all sure y'all have done everything? She looks like she's just sleeping. She said, please, y'all do something. You know, this can't be. And they said, we're sorry. When she came in, she was in such bad shape. There was just nothing we can do for her. So she just redirects. Okay, well, where's my other two siblings? Where are they? So the nurse walks out, and he comes back in about 5 minutes later. And he says, there's a young gentleman at Bunkie General who we think may be your little brother. And she said, oh, thank God. She said, I need to be with him. I don't want him to be alone. She said, I know he's hurt. She said, but at least he's alive. And the nurse did. Sorry. We're gonna need you to go to Bunkie General and identify him as well. So she's like, just in shock, really. She says, well, where's Lindy? Where's my other sister? And he said, we just got word they're still trying to get her out of the vehicle. She said, okay, what mile marker? Like, I need to go be with her. Like, I want to be with her. I want her to know she was there. She was like, just tell me the mile marker. And she said, she's alive, right? He did. I'm sorry. They're still trying to get her out of the vehicle. She's been in it an hour and a half. So in that moment, she found out that all three of her baby siblings were gone. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine what my daughter had to go through that night. Because I tell you know, I was severely injured in that crash. And it's crazy to say, but in a strange way, I'm thankful that I was injured, because I don't think I could have taken the weight of losing those three beautiful kids at the same time. This is a picture of my car. This is actually on the scene that night. We left the basketball game. The kids were hungry. We went eat at Subway. You can see the Subway cups in my car. We just went to the crash site. We went on a little mini vacation weekend before last, and we stopped at the crash site. Still to this day, I can walk around that crash site and I will still find pieces of my car. The drunk driver was going 80 to 90 miles an hour. We were doing 75, which is the speed limit on I-49. No brakes were applied. I mean, you can see there's hardly nothing left in my car. I mean, the physics of it, I mean, my car just literally disintegrated. I mean, the car did its job though. All the airbags came out, you know, everything that a car can do, it did. But, you know, the physics of it, you know, a car is a piece of machinery. And that's why y'all need to be so careful and really think about when you get behind the wheel of a car. Because it is a heavy piece of machinery that you can kill someone in and that you can be killed in. And I tell you, don't think it can't happen to you. We were just a normal family coming home from a basketball game, trying to get home, getting ready to start the Christmas holidays. It was the last day of school. And our lives are forever changed because of one man's decision. One selfish decision has changed our lives forever. I've had 2 of my children that were so devastated and so broken that they had to be hospitalized to help them to mentally be able to continue on and move forward. When I tell you it wrecked our lives and turned our lives upside down in every single way that you can imagine, and still today, my day is hard. I have to fight and pray to make it through each day. My day now, I keep a grave cleaning kit in the back of my car because I was such a hands-on mom that I was always doing for them and doing. So I go every day to the cemetery, clean their grave. What I'm doing right now, I'm doing it for them. I want to make a difference in y'all life that no one will ever have to experience this kind of pain. You know, grief is so hard. The only way I can describe it, it feels like I walk around with an invisible knife in my heart. It's so painful, and it's annoying. It's like an aggravating fly. It's always buzzing around. You know, it never leaves. Because I loved these kids. They were the joy of my life. I put every bit of my heart and my soul into these kids. I did life with them. You know, just think about your 3 closest friends, siblings, or whatever, 3 people that are part of your everyday. I mean, your people. Think about them, okay? Our crash happened at 9:01. At 9:01, your 3 people are here, okay? At 9:02, they're gone. You can't go back. Once you make a bad decision, you know, you drink and drive, you're texting and driving, you're allowing yourself to be distracted behind the wheel. At 9:01, your people are here. At 9:02, they're gone. There's no, oh, you can't go back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You know, I should have, I wish I would have. You can't go back. On December 17th, 2021, I never dreamed that these 3 young, beautiful kids, full of dreams, full of hopes, full of hope, would not see December 18th. Never, never. I didn't think that could happen to us. And I want y'all to realize, I know y'all don't think it could happen to y'all, but I'm telling you, it can happen. You know, we were innocent. You know, we did nothing wrong. You know, sometimes it's out of your control what happens. But I tell you what, anything that you can control, make a good decision. Make a good decision. And this is just some more vehicles, some more pictures of my vehicle. You can see, I mean, you know, the guy that hit us, he was 3 times the legal limit. He was in his underwear, driving the wrong way down I-49 at 80 to 90 miles an hour. That's just crazy to me. You know, how selfish of a decision is that? This is just some of my injuries of that night. I tore both carotid arteries, I busted my spleen, collapsed lung, very, very, very many rib fractures. It took forever for that to heal. My sternum was fractured, my wrist was fractured, my legs were broken. Very, very badly. I mean, I've had to retire from my job since this happened. I was a mail carrier, and I am walking and so thankful for that, but my legs are nothing like they used to be. So I had a lot of surgeries on my legs. But this stuff heals. My heart is just so broken. So broken. I love those kids with every part of me. I loved them. The picture in the middle at the bottom, that was our last Mother's Day together. Had no idea that that would be our last Mother's Day that we had together. So the crash was on December 17th. This is January 3rd. They had to figure out and collaborate with the doctors on when are we gonna have a funeral. They didn't know how long I would be in the hospital. You know, they just didn't know. Can you imagine what my family went through? The crash was on December 17th. I did not find out that I had lost all 3 of my children until December 19th. So for 2 days, my family had to figure out and just deal, because they're in shock. They're grieving too. They had to figure out, how in the world are we going to tell Mama this? How are we going to do this? I had older children that were coming in. I have one son that lives in Austin. Ren lives in Austin. Carly lives in Modesto, California. Rhett lives in Seattle, Washington. They all had to start flying in. Can you imagine what they went through for 2 days, figuring out how in the world they were going to tell me? I didn't see Katie for 2 days because she was busy trying to make arrangements, and I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, you can just imagine 3 young children dying like that. And the school that my kids attended, Christopher and Cameron, is a very small school. It's not a large school like this. Like Christopher literally, I think, has 15 in his graduating class. Cameron would be a junior this year, and she might have 15 as well. It's a very, very small, tight-knit school. So it was, you know, it was just unreal. So she came in Sunday to see me for the first time because she was taking care of all the things so that my husband and the other siblings could stay with me. And they got the word from the doctor after my first surgery that she's okay. She's good enough for you to tell what happened. Y'all need to get this over with. So she walks in and she's like, "Hey, Mom." And I mean, I was still in ICU. I was in very bad shape still. But I looked at her, because her and I have a very, very close relationship, because I would come in and out of consciousness and I would say, "Where's the kids?" And I never got the answer like, oh, Christopher's in room 315, he has a broken arm. Like, I never got that answer. The little bit I would come back to consciousness, all I would hear was, Mama, just worry about yourself. It's good. And, you know, I would think a minute, I'm like, that's not the answer that I'm looking for. So when Katie walked in, I looked her dead in the eye and I said, where are the kids? And she was starting to back up. And the pastor at one of the churches was there, and he pushed her forward. He said, Katie, tell her. And she said, Mom, I'm so sorry. She said, they gone. She said, yeah, Mama, all three. She said, I'm so sorry. So, you know, really think about decisions y'all make when y'all get behind the wheel. Because I tell you, it will change your life forever. A simple right decision, doing the right thing. You know, if you're tempted by your phone, put it away. You know, I suggest getting Life 360. That way, like if Mom calls or, you know, your friends, whoever calls you, if you don't answer, just always tell them, look at the Life 360. I'm not going to do that while I'm driving. There are just simple little things that you can do, you know, because the consequence could be that. This is January 3rd. The funeral was January 4th. This is the first time I saw him since December 17th. My last memory of December 17th is leaving the subway. We went to like I said, we went to the game, brought the kids to eat at Subway. We pulled out of Subway at 7:06 p.m. that night, and our crash was at 9:01. 7:06 is the last memory I have of that night. That's the last memory I have of my kids, alive and well, until December, that night of December 19th. I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. So you can see right here, like I said, my legs were severely broken. I'll never forget January 3rd. We were at the funeral home. The actual funeral was at our church because the funeral home couldn't hold as many people as that came. I tell you, when I was sitting behind those doors, when they were going to open them, to go in the room to view them, is a feeling and a day I will never forget. Picture you 3 people. You're walking into this room and you see 3 caskets. Young people. People that you love with all your heart. People that you do life with every day. And we went in. This is my 23-year-old son. He's the baby now. And I said, Kyle, bring me to Lindy. Bring me to Christopher. Bring me to Cameron. To see him. And that was the most devastating and hopeless feeling I have ever had in my entire life. He rode me to Lindy, to Christopher, to Cameron, back to Lindy, Christopher, and Cameron for 2 hours. What could be worth that? There's nothing. Nothing worth that. You know, there are 2 sides to this. You know, you could either be the one who makes the bad decision and causes this. Can you imagine living with the weight of doing this to a family, or there's the other side. We did nothing wrong that night. We were completely innocent. Listen, if God put something on your heart, do not delay in doing it. I tell you, y'all just give y'all hearts to God. You are not guaranteed tomorrow. There is no guarantee that you will see tomorrow. I know where my kids are. I know where they are. My days are still hard. I miss them and long for them every second of every day. Trying to adjust to a life without them is the most difficult thing I have ever experienced in my life. Lindy and I share a birthday. I always would think, you know, after I'm gone, I said, oh, I hope she can still enjoy her day. Never, ever did I think I would be the one that would be left to celebrate our birthday without her being here. You know, my home is so quiet. Overnight, we lost those 3 kids. I had to retire from my job, and I have empty nest overnight. I feel like my house has lost its soul. It's not the same place. There's no laughter. I mean, can you imagine? I had a house with 9 kids. It was always loud and full of laughter and just all kind of things going on. It's just me and my husband now, silent. There's no signs of life in their bedrooms. One decision, one text, one distraction. This could be the result. It's not worth it. Get things in place before you get behind the wheel of a car, and do not deter from them. You have to settle it in your heart before. You know, y'all are all getting ready to graduate. So would Christopher. So I am gonna be going to that graduation, to another empty chair event. You know how many empty chair events I've had to go through this year? Do you know how hard it is? You know, and I'm so happy for all the other kids. It's not like that. It just breaks my heart that my son's not there. Valedictorian, amazing athlete, had his future planned, gone because of one man's decision. Triple funeral, 18 pallbearers. Please take my story with y'all. You know, I know y'all all about to be graduating. Please make good decisions that night. It's a happy time. It's a time for celebration. Don't let one bad decision change your life forever. So, thank y'all so much for having me. I hope my story has made a difference for y'all, and I hope that y'all really can take it in y'all heart and keep it with y'all for the rest of y'all life and make good choices. It really, really, you know, all decisions have consequences, you know, and bad decisions can have this consequence. And I don't want to see other young people have to go through this and their families. because, like I said, this has changed our lives forever. There is not one area of our life that has not been affected by this. I will be a broken-hearted mama till I take my last breath. So, thank y'all so much for having me.
So as you leave school and you move on to your adult life, life is about to knock you to your knees. It's going to happen. Things that you cannot control. You can't control things like cancer and illness. You might lose your job. You might lose people in your life. Life is unfair, and you'll be knocked to your knees by things you cannot control. But this you can control. This you never have to go through. If you make the decision to call a friend, don't drink. Don't get behind of a wheel if you've had a sip of alcohol. Make that your promise to yourself, not one. It's easy. I don't have to figure out how drunk I am. I'm not going to have one sip and get behind the wheel. And if you do that and you have control of this will never happen to you. You will not be the one to take somebody out, yourself, or God forbid, another family. You want to know why we call it Domino? See those dominoes? We have student, friends, family, sheriff, state police, district attorney, and MAD. Everybody stands in there as a separate entity, and they're a domino. And none of them have to touch, not a one. They all can stand separate. But you make the choice to get behind the wheel. You make that choice. And once you do, you get pulled over. They all, every single one falls. But you have the power to keep them all up. You do. And there's a lot of things you won't be able to control, but this one you can. When you leave, we're going to give you a Domino keychain. And I beg of you, put it on your key ring. And every single time you go to grab your keys, I want you to think of them. Every single time you grab them, think of them before you make a decision. I want to thank all of you for your attention. I'll say this, every single year I come South Lafourche, you guys are amazing with your attentiveness and your compassion, and I thank you for today. When you leave, please grab a keychain on your way out. Have a wonderful end of your school year, and I wish you all the best.
What a great event, great information. I hope a lot of you found it helpful, and we hope you took a lot of notes, as this is one program that helps save many, many lives. We appreciate the crew at HTV for helping us bring this to you. Happy Easter weekend, everyone. We'll see you soon.